Emma had always loved animals. So, when her elderly neighbors asked her to watch their dog, Max, for the weekend, she didn't hesitate to help. The couple's home was a quiet, creaky old house on the edge of town, with the woods looming just beyond the backyard. When Emma arrived, she noticed something odd about Max. The large Labrador mix cowered in the far corner of the living room, his eyes wide with fear. He wouldn't even respond to Emma's friendly calls. The first night passed quietly. But on the second night, Emma was jolted awake by a scratching sound at the back door. She grabbed a flashlight and went to investigate. When she opened the door, the freezing wind rushed in, but no one was there. When Emma returned to the living room, she found Max standing rigidly at the doorway, growling into the darkness. She felt a chill crawl up her spine as she stared into the empty hallway beyond. The next morning, Max was gone. Emma panicked, searching the house. She found muddy paw prints leading up the stairs and into the attic. In the attic, Emma found Max sitting near an old, locked chest. The wood was worn and covered in deep scratch marks, as if something had tried to claw its way out. Next to the chest lay a faded journal. Emma opened it and began to read. The journal revealed a horrifying truth. The couple had been hiding something in the chest. Something not entirely human. Max wasn't the first pet to go missing in this house. Days later, the couple returned to find their house eerily silent. Emma and Max were gone, but the chest in the attic now lay open, its contents vanished. The only trace left behind was a single muddy paw print near the doorway. When Lila agreed to cat sit for her aunt in a quiet suburban neighborhood, she thought it would be a relaxing week. The house was cozy, with a warm fireplace, and midnight, her aunt's black cat seemed calm at first. But there was something off about the house. It didn't take long for Midnight's strange habits to surface. The cat often sat in the middle of the living room, staring intently at dark, empty corners. Occasionally, he'd hiss or arch his back at nothing Lila could see. While feeding Midnight one evening, Lila noticed something peculiar. All the mirrors in the house were covered with thick, dark cloths. Her aunt hadn't mentioned this, but curiosity began to gnaw at her. Why cover the mirrors? What could her aunt possibly be hiding? Unable to resist, Lila pulled the cloth off one of the mirrors. At first, she only saw her reflection staring back. But then, a shadowy figure emerged behind her. A tall, distorted silhouette that didn't belong. Midnight let out a piercing screech and bolted from the room. As the days went by, the figure began appearing more frequently. Midnight grew increasingly agitated, constantly hissing and pawing at the mirrors. Lila began to understand. The mirrors weren't just covered for decoration. They were hiding something. One night, Lila awoke to a chilling presence in her room. She turned to see the shadowy figure standing outside the mirror, its hollow eyes locked onto hers. Midnight sat protectively at the edge of the bed, growling low in his throat. Panicked, Lila searched the house for answers and found an old journal belonging to the previous owner. It revealed that the mirrors were used to trap a malevolent spirit, something far worse than a ghost. By uncovering the mirrors, Lila had set it free. In a final confrontation, the figure began to move closer to Lila. Midnight leaped between them, hissing and clawing at the spirit. The mirrors in the room shattered one by one, and the figure vanished. Midnight sat calmly at Lila's feet, as if nothing had happened. Sometimes curiosity comes with a price. Lila had learned the hard way that some reflections are best left unseen. And as for Midnight, he had been more than just a pet. He was her only protector. Jason was looking forward to a peaceful weekend at a rural farmhouse. He was there to watch over 3 large dogs while the owners were away. The house sat at the edge of dense, dark woods, a picture-perfect escape from city life, or so he thought. The first night, Jason noticed something strange. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the dogs refused to go outside. They huddled together, whimpering softly, their eyes fixed on the forest. Jason laughed it off, thinking they were just scared of wild animals. Later that night, Jason was woken by the sound of footsteps. They were slow and deliberate, circling the house. His heart raced as he checked the security cameras, but the screens showed nothing, just the empty yard and the dark line of trees beyond. The next night, it got worse. Around midnight, the dogs began howling and clawing at the walls. Jason tried to calm them, but they wouldn't stop. Their eyes were fixed on the window in the living room. When Jason turned to look, his blood ran cold. The next morning, Jason stepped outside to investigate. His jaw dropped when he saw deep claw marks gouged into the wooden porch. Whatever had circled the house last night wasn't just an animal. It was something far more sinister. When Jason mentioned the strange events to a neighbor, the old man's face darkened. He told Jason about the creature that had haunted these woods for decades. Something not quite human, but not entirely animal either. "Don't go outside after dark," the neighbor warned. That night, Jason stayed awake, clutching a flashlight and waiting for the footsteps. The dogs growled low as the sound of heavy breathing came from outside. When Jason shone the flashlight through the window, he finally saw it. A hulking, shadowy figure with glowing eyes and claws like razors. By dawn, Jason packed his bags and left the farmhouse without looking back. He never told the owners what he saw, but the claw marks on the porch told their own story. As he drove away, Jason glanced at the woods one last time and thought he saw glowing eyes watching him from the trees. Some places hold secrets better left untouched. For Jason, the farmhouse was a chilling reminder that even the most serene locations can hide unspeakable horrors.